Hey guys, this is TXP-Network coming at you with another review. This time we're going to be talking about the specific software updates. Software project updates to be exact. That's right, the SWPUs that we mentioned on Facebook. First off, we're going to be talking about the File Explorer. File Explorer is written in a combination of native C++ and also a boost library known as Durant.h. Not only that, but we also use various system calls in the actual program to bash scripts that are integrated into the program. Thing is though, it's still under development and currently does not have a GUI. The GUI that I'm currently thinking about might be written in Qt++, but I don't know how compatible that is. Still looking at it, haven't really researched it yet. So if you guys could just go in and drop a comment on what you think below, and besides that, a few recommendations. First off, the TXP network will never work really with interpreted languages besides shell and born again shell, which is known as bash. Yes, we use bash in some of our programs, but besides that, nothing else in the way of interpreted. We do not use Java due to the fact that it requires what? It requires a runtime environment, which has to be provided by a Java application. Java application requires an operating system. TXP Network is currently trying to develop an operating system and therefore cannot really use anything that requires an operating system to build an operating system. I know, sounds redundant, but just for any of those who aren't really into the operating system building business, just wanted to explain that away. But besides that, that's why we don't really program in Java. In order to try to make a operating system or anything that's operating system related in Java would just be a pain in the tail beyond belief, trying to establish a runtime environment that could act as its own kernel, or for that matter, I mean, to be honest, I'm not even trying to use kernel in my operating system. So anyway, let's go on to the next point. We also have another software project coming up. That would be the search engine, which is written in HTML and JavaScript / jQuery. If you want to see that, that's hosted on GitHub along with the file manager. And if you want to see more about that, what it is basically it scans web pages for content, and then from there it just follows up on links. So it's pretty much it's similar to a web crawler, but it doesn't act as a web crawler. The reason why it can't act as a full web crawler is due to the fact that it would require too many resources, and also I don't think that would actually be allowed in the web community. So therefore, it can't really use a full-out web crawler. Instead, we use something that imitates a web crawler. And besides that, on to the next thing, we also have a PHP, well, we have a whole entire group of PHP scripts and other things that will be made into a form. We have a whole entire group of PHP scripts and server-side scripting items that we're going to be using to manage a forms website in the form of a GitHub repository. If you want to see those, just go and check those out on GitHub also. It's a really huge number of files, from things that upload other files to things that actually allow for you to have a profile that make web pages. Still currently being developed, but nonetheless, within the next couple of months, I will be seeing whether or not these scripts work, and whether or not they can be used to actually give us TXP network accounts, because in the end, anyone who has a TXP network account, I think, should be able to actually test, or should I say beta test, the operating system first. So if I can get those TXP network account items working, that would be really cool. If you want to talk more about that, just talk about that in the comments below, and I'll try to get back with you as soon as possible. Besides that, I'm also trying to learn OpenGL for C++, which will allow for a good amount of options. The two main libraries I'm going to be looking at mainly when it comes to C++ development that are not included in native C++ would be Durant.h and the Poco libraries. I will also be looking into Qt, C++, and OpenGL mainly, just due to the fact that I'm trying to get into GUI and graphics a lot more, especially 3D. But besides that, I'm going to be trying to limit the amount of libraries I use, just so that I can actually make sure that the code's compatible, to make sure there's no conflicts, etc. And it's going to be a very difficult time this year, possibly due to the fact that Poco is kind of new to me, and therefore I'll have to actually learn it So if you guys have any thoughts, comments, or concerns, yes, you may leave them in the comments. Just try to be appropriate about your comments. Don't say anything mean. If you disagree with what I say, or if I get anything wrong, then please correct me in the comments. This is due to the fact that I am new to OS development, and therefore am not able to really speak all the way in depth about it. I'm currently trying to develop programs for the OS, and then from there I'm trying to pretty much develop what would be considered a process manager and resource manager with a built-in console. If I can build those three things together into a working system that can actually act as a platform for simple applications, I would probably be able to attach that to a bootloader and consider that an OS. It would be extremely simplistic and probably not the best OS, but nonetheless it'll be a starting point to really get things started off for 2015. Yes, the OS is being released in 2015. I know the date's been changed for a reason. It's due to the fact that we've been having multiple issues, and the TXP network was originally thinking about moving a good amount of its sites over to privately owned servers, but that decision has been pretty much repealed. Not repealed, it has been pretty much put off. Pretty much we are not going to be moving the sites to private servers anytime soon unless we have major issues with the web host providers that we already have. Besides that, TXP Network's also been looking into C++ CGI programming and also looking at some Boost server type libraries. I don't really know how to describe it, but I'll just go on and say blatantly the TXP network has been looking into all server software recently, but I probably won't be really looking into that stuff until after 2015, seeing that trying to do too many, projects at once could easily overwhelm me. And due to the fact that also there's a good amount of software out there that I should probably study before I really jump into a project such as that. So as usual, before I start a project, I'll have to really look more so into actual server programming. So far I've picked up a piece of source code that's written in C#, and I'm currently trying to see how it works to see if some of the same concepts apply to C++. I'm not saying that C# is equivalent to C++ in any way, shape, or form. I'm not making any implications. I'm not saying that there will be any software made out of this. I'm simply saying that I'm looking into server programming, so don't expect any projects to come out of this. Besides that, we only have 4 running projects. If you want to see more information about it, we have GitHub repositories for you guys that you can look at. I sadly do not have any README files, so you'll have to interpret the source code sadly. And I, unfortunately, do not like to use comments in my source code, so I'm really sorry for any of you guys who go like, hey, how does this code work? I do not comment my source code, and I do not have any README files in there, really. Besides that, that's pretty much the end of our update. If you wish to talk to me over email, tophatproductions115, that's a Gmail account, and you know how to get to that. I have an email link at the bottom of every website in the TXP network, so you could easily contact me via email. If you want to contact me via YouTube, just leave me a comment, and I will try to get to you as fast as possible. I will be looking at new content constantly due to the fact that I am learning more and more about C++. I have just gotten past the actual threshold of being a C++ beginner, and I'm also currently learning NASM, NetWide Assembler. So I'm trying to learn assembly and C++ so I can actually develop programs and develop other items and components that will make the OS. I'm going to be doing it in parts, and that's why it's due in 2015, 2 years from now, to make sure that I have a good understanding of what I'm doing so I can actually develop a full-out system that will actually work coherently. Not only that, but that'll also help me out with getting some bugs and kinks worked out of it, because I will probably have to debug my programs a lot, just seeing from the results that I've been getting from my compiler lately. If you want to try out the code yourself, you can go to GitHub once again, try it out. And also, by the way, I'm actually using Compiler to compile the code that I'm using. Now, in the future I will have to start using a installed compiler. In other words, I have to install a compiler to my computer. I'll have to start using an installed compiler due to the fact that I have not figured out how to actually use non-native C++ libraries in compiler. That is, if there's even such a way of actually doing that practically. Besides that, well, that's pretty much the end of the TXP Network update. So, TXP signing out.